if you've got Greg Sankey on a committee for 2 years working on something, when it comes out, there's going to be a lot of detail on it. It's not going to be, here's what we're thinking of. And that's why I think when the 12 team came out, we all kind of went, whoa, you got to be kidding me. But if Sankey's on it, it's going to get done the way that they want to get it done.
Oh, there's no question about it. I mean, he's one of the arguably the most powerful voice in that room. But to have Jack Swarbrick from Notre Dame, the athletic director there, along with Bob Bowlesby, the Big 12 commissioner, and obviously Craig Thompson of the Mountain West, I mean, they had a variety of voices and opinions in there. And, it's funny because I keep writing that it took 2 years to do this, but they weren't pouring over it for 2 years because the pandemic derailed them, right? So when we were in San Jose for the national championship a couple of years ago, Mississippi State President Mark Keenum said, hey, go evaluate everything that is associated with the college football playoff. That's when this whole thing really started, and it certainly got derailed because of the pandemic.
Heather, take us through what it's like for you to go to these meetings, and basically you're sitting out in the lobby, I guess, waiting for them to tell you what the next thing they're gonna tell you. What's that like for you?
Typical day at the office. It's exactly what you said. It's waiting and doing some TV hits. Chicago was interesting because it was the Big Ten office, and I had never been there before. So it was neat to be inside there. But Dallas was a lot better in terms of the access to the commissioners and the presidents. And the presidents are such an underrated but important voice in this situation. I mean, you have Clemson's president who has a seat at the table. I mean, Jim Clements, he's got a football mind, right? He loves it. And obviously his program has played an important role in it. But you've got Penn State President Eric Barron on there, West Virginia President Gordon Gee. So I think that's an important opportunity to be able to speak with them because they have different concerns. I mean, we look at this through football tunnel vision, right? But they've got an academic calendar and an entire university that they're responsible for. So they came out of there and they all liked it as well. But it was just a really great opportunity for FaceTime to be able to meet a lot of them. And it's because I don't know them. I don't know a lot of the university presidents to speak to.
Yeah, it must be fascinating to be kind of the person who everybody's talking to find out what's going on. It's a lot of times you don't know any more than anybody because you can't go in that room. Would you like to be in that room if you had a choice?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, I want to see the PowerPoint presentation that they're putting up on the board and all the questions that they're asking. I mean, they had attorneys in the room. That's an important part of this conversation that people don't realize is because of the legality in it. And when they say that this is going to be difficult to change, that's why. Because you have the Rose Bowl, the sugar, the orange, and not only do they have contracts with ESPN, and the college football playoff, they have contract with the leagues, and that's like a three-way written legal spider web that you've got to untangle in order to change the playoff before the 2025 season ends. Yeah,
and that's why look, they're not going to walk back to 12-team playoff. I mean, that's all anybody's talking about. But, I had Ralph Russo on Friday, and we were talking about how, look, 2023 it may be a little optimistic. I don't know that we're going to see that happen.
Oh, I would be surprised if it happens in 2023. It's not impossible, but the feeling that I was getting, especially in Dallas, even within a couple days span between Chicago and Dallas, there was a growing sense of people within the room who kind of started to realize, well, maybe after talking this through, this can't happen as quickly as everybody would like. But that's the point, right, of having these conversations and asking questions and now using the summer to turn around. I mean, when we were in Dallas, at that point on that day, nobody had even talked to ESPN TV executives at that point. And that's a big part of the equation is the television contract, right? So to be able to use these 90 days or whatever before they meet again on September 28th is critical to it.
Yeah, and during those 90 days, we'll see. I mean, they've got to deal with that part of it. How much, though, do you think that this kind of let's talk this out through the summer, is that some conferences have got to figure out, do we want to stay with divisions? Because if we stay with divisions, we could really, kind of get screwed out of a team getting in there.
There's no question that there will be conferences like the Pac-12 that try to figure out how to best position themselves for the playoff and try to reevaluate that, whether it's scrapping divisions or it's playing 8 or 9 conference games, whatever it might be. But I think there's also a recognition that the SEC has always been pretty strategic about that. I mean, you look at where that bye week is placed, or where the FCS game sneaks in, right, in November. All that's done for a reason. And they've been very smart. And other conference commissioners recognize that and give them credit for it. So how do you best position your conference is another question that they're going to tackle. But that all comes at that point. Like, they don't even know what this might look like in terms of not only a start date, but how long it goes. So let's say in 2026, you wake up and you have a new playoff. Well, how long is that for, right? So you don't know necessarily what you're positioning yourself for at this point is what I'm saying. So first step is to figure out how feasible it is, when it could happen. And then the next step would be, okay, how can we get in this thing on a regular basis? But if you look at the reality of it, the Power 5 conference champions are probably going to be in it most of the time, and so is Notre Dame.
Well, that's a funny thing. Is, let's say we start it in 2025. In 2026, somebody will write a column saying 12 teams isn't enough. We got to get to 16, and then there'll be that movement to get it going to that. But I'm just happy we get more football, and I think that's where the average fan comes down with this. I'm just happy we get more meaningful games, and it's not just like the people who say it takes away from the regular season. I think it's the opposite. I think it means more regular season games that really mean something.
Well, and I was talking to Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma about that this week because, as a team that lost to K-State and, slipped up elsewhere, he was like, we would have been able to get in a 12 team, right? And it gives you a little bit more margin for error if that happens. And in November, you're playing your best football. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago when USC had like 2 or 3 losses. And then at the end of the season, they were one of the best teams in the country, hands down. But they had 2 or 3 losses. And so how does that factor into the equation in a 12-team system, rewarding who's playing at their best in November? And also accounting for a little bit more margin for error, right, which I think will continue to say, let's play those really great non-conference games because it's okay if you lose. Fans want to see them. The kids want to play in them, so keep lining up those big boy non-conference schedules. But I think it preserves the regular season, and I think it makes conference championship games equally, if not more important than they are now because of the seeding.
Well, do you think that there was one reason that this happened, and that one reason would be Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State fatigue? Or do you think it was a multitude of things that played into why they decided we need to talk about this and go to more teams?
Well, I think that was part of it, but I don't think you could pinpoint it on specifically just that one thing. Their big explanation has been more participation. But I thought Big 12 Commissioner Bob Bowlesby was very candid in the teleconference when he said, we also realized, we as in the Power 5 commissioners, didn't give enough credence to what it would feel like to be left out. So the Big 12 was left out, the Pac-12 was left out, there were times upset, and that stinks, right? And we didn't realize how bad that was going to stink to be left out. So I think that honesty certainly played a role in it. How can more teams be involved in this, and how can you reward more of those Power 5 teams who are also deserving, who may or may not win their division at a particular year?
I still think one reason I don't think it'll be until 2025 is that ESPN is in the perfect position. If you want to come in 2023, we're going to still pay you the same amount. You can't force us to pay you more for more games. Now, it's going to take some heady negotiations to get it done by 2023, but at some point, they keep talking about tripling the amount. And by the way, I covered the USFL where they tripled the amount there. It wasn't a good thing. I mean, they went from $1 to $3. But, I mean, do you see that kind of money if we do wait till 2025?
Well, it's above my pay grade to know exactly what kind of money that they will be talking about. But I can honestly tell you that in Dallas, they hadn't even broached that subject yet because, one of the immediate questions from Group of 5 athletic directors is, well, how much money are we going to make from it? And there's not an answer to that question yet. But, I mean, you're right in the sense that it's going to be extremely difficult to unravel some of those contracts. And if you're going to... The other thing with it, in addition to TV, that people have to realize is with the Bulls, they're in a contractual agreement to host those semifinals every 3 years. So if you don't end it on a 3, a 6, a 9, or a 12th year of the 12-year contract, you're talking about some Bulls not getting a fair shake in the deal in terms of not being able to host the semifinal and getting that TV revenue and all the other money that comes along with it, right? So what do you have to offer those Bulls who would miss out if you ended the contract early? You know what I mean? You can't say, okay, we don't want to do this, but we don't have anything, we don't have a plan. You say, okay, you're not going to host these semifinals, but in the new contract, you get to do X, Y, and Z to make up for it, right? And they don't have the answer to compensate for that right this second.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I still think there are a lot of questions, and one of them is, Heather, we're talking about games on campus, first-round games on campus, and teams are saying, well, you got to win your game to get that revenue. Well, how do we know that the revenue is going to come to the schools? Is it not going to go into this big pot? And yeah, eventually you're going to get a piece of it, but I don't know that you're going to make, and I don't know the answer to that, you're going to make ticket sales on 80,000 in the Swamp. I don't know that that's the case.
Right. Yeah, and nobody does yet either. And that's one of the deep dive things that they have to get into, the nitty gritty. And it's along with, well, what's the ticket allotment for the visiting teams? All those little things, right?
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, I'll let you go. I appreciate your time. It's always great talking to you. And how did that spaghetti turn out the other night?
Listen, I think you're right. If I can upgrade it with the sausage, it would just be just a little bit better, like some spicy Italian sausage. But I like to put the hot peppers in it anyway to kind of spice it up a little bit. But it's good. But I'll take your advice next time.
I like that, though. I like that. Well, thanks for joining us, Heather. Good luck.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Stay safe. See ya. Heather Dinich from ESPN, who is the expert on all things playoff. We love having her on. We'll take a break. When we come back, Cole Kubelik's going to join us, and we've got to get to all of our things. Our things. You know what our things are. You're watching another Dooley Noted podcast. Thanks so much to our title sponsors, ABC Fine Wine and Spirits and Titan MRI, and to our pick sponsor, Leonardo's of Millhopper. You can find us live on Facebook and YouTube or listen at your leisure on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or wherever you find all your favorite podcasts. I'm excited to continue this podcast and to have your company on board as a sponsor. If you're interested in being part of the show, email me at patrickdooley54@gmail.com or give me a call, 352-317-3444.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
This is Pat Dooley, and I want to tell you about my friends at the Gainesville Quarterback Club. I'm a member, and you should be too. It's the oldest Gator booster club in the world and a great place to meet new friends, network with prominent business people, and hear a great collection of speakers, including Dan Mullen, throughout the football season. Go ahead and give John Stevens a call at 352-222-8516 or sign up on the website, quarterbackclub.org. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Dooley Noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Drip Co. To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam Drip Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it. All right. Welcome back to another Duly Noted podcast. So we appreciate everybody for clicking on, presented by Titan MRI. It's time to do our Leonardo's Quick Picks, and we're going to present a winner today. We do one about every 3 weeks or so. I'm looking forward to when we get into football season, and we're going to do a lot of other fun things I think you guys are going to enjoy. But one of them is going to be that we're going to do one a month on these. We'll qualify people, and then we'll pick one at the end of every month. For different prizes, and there's going to be, again, we'll have a great prize package for you, and the winner of this segment's who's qualified. There was tons of qualifiers, which is one reason I didn't want to have all these pieces of paper flying through here. So I picked it out earlier today and wrote it down, and the winner is George Luttrell. So George Luttrell, all you need to do is send me an email. We'll figure out how to get it to you. If you live in town, great. We'll meet somewhere and I'll give it to you. If you don't live in town, then we will we'll mail it to you. No big whoop. But we appreciate the great people over at Leonardo's Millhopper, and they do such a great job at the Leonardo's Quick Picks, and we'll start a new one on Friday. In fact, Friday we're going to do something really different with Robbie. It's going to be fun. So we'll have that on Friday. We'll start a brand new one, and then we'll, over the next 3 weeks or so, we'll keep qualifying people, and then we'll continue to pick them out. Look forward to that as well. All right, so I guess we could go ahead and do some of these, because I don't know. Cole has not texted me. I think we were having a little. One of those Eastern time zone, Central time zone issues, and I thought I was clear, but you guys know me, and therefore sometimes I think I'm clear, but I'm not. Not at all. Not even close to being clear. By the way, I wanted to say one other thing about the NC State thing that nobody's talking about. And again, I've made my feelings clear. I'm kind of conflicted about it because I feel bad for the kids, but they did take a risk, and it does seem kind of weird that you have 20,000 people in the stadium, none of them are wearing masks, but the players, it's just like when you're watching the gymnastics last night, nobody's wearing a mask until they get to the award ceremony, and then they put a mask on. I'm like, you guys are hugging. You're hugging each other, kissing each other on the cheek. Okay, I assume you're vaccinated, but then you have to wear a mask, and then you go do interviews and sign autographs without masks. So it's almost like the mask it's kind of become like a symbol that you care, that you are taking this seriously, but you're clearly not in some cases. And I'm not being critical of anybody here. Again, I'm not going to get involved in all that, but it's just kind of weird the way that all works. But the thing I was going to talk about that has not been talked about is, as we all know, COVID's not gone. And in fact, it may not ever leave. It may be around forever. We've seen apparently in some places there's this Delta mutant that is causing problems, and that people, again, not vaccinated people, but people, and that was the thing. And the NC State, 4 of their players had it, even though they tested positive, but they had been vaccinated. So obviously they weren't sick in any way. But I just wonder if we're not, like, everybody's under the assumption we're done. We're back to normal. Everything is great now. Don't wear a mask ever again. You don't have to worry about it. Well, it's not gone. And I wonder if there's going to be any, that this incident, this thing that happened in the College World Series is going to make everybody kind of slam the brakes on a little bit. And when I say everybody, I'm talking about college football, whether it's going to back them up in terms of what the CDC or what the University of Florida Health decides as far as tailgating, how far you have to be away, or is it just wild? You can do whatever, still do whatever you want. So I'm curious. And again, I'm not saying, you have to get a vaccination. I wish you would. I think you should. I've been vaccinated. Gosh, how long has it been now, Evan? It's been like 3 months? Something like that. Yeah, everything's been great. Feel good. Feeling 7-Up. So, but I just wonder if there will be any kind of brakes thrown on here because of this whole deal. But I don't know. I know that Florida's got a lot of plans for things they're planning on doing for the games. They're going to do some things that are going to be not the kind of things you've seen before, okay? That's what I'm saying. And I don't know exactly what they are, but I've talked to Chip Howard a little bit about it, and we're going to get Chip on the show at some point to kind of go through what Florida is going to do over there at the Swamp for those, for those games. So, all right, I tell you what, we'll go ahead and just keep moving forward with some of our, because believe me, we got a lot of things to cover. Maybe we'll get Cole on a little bit. Maybe we'll just have to wait and get him on another time. Again, me and Central, Eastern. I don't even know if I think Heather was in Eastern. That's why we had her on. All right. Speaking of fans, speaking of crowds, it is time for This, That, and the Other. I love this segment. We moved it to Mondays because we had so much stuff on Fridays. I think last Friday, I forgot to do the Friday football fix. I think I forgot it. But I already got it mapped out for this Friday. So we'll definitely have that coming. All right, This, That, and the Other presented to you by Ballyhoo Grill. We love the people over there at Ballyhoo, by Dar Shackow Insurance. Thanks so much to John Dar over there, and also by Ironwood Golf Course, where I did go play yesterday, about 6 holes. I know I'm not supposed to say this word, but I've got the shanks, and it's bad when you get the shanks. And I had a couple of shots that I shanked, and then yesterday I went out and I shanked 3 straight shots. And that was when I just put the clubs in the bag, put all the head covers on, put the ball, took the gloves off. You need to get away from the sport for a while. I know what the cure is for the shanks. The shanks mean usually that you're coming over the top, you're hitting it with the hosel. If anybody has any other cures for the shanks, please let me know. All right, but This, That, and the Other presented by Ballyhoo, by Ironwood Golf Course, and by Dar Shackow Insurance. This. A long time ago in many places, and sometimes not that long ago, stadiums were built. And they were built, knowing what the crowds were going to be like at the time. In fact, in the case of Florida, if you go back to the very first, when it was first built, it only was 32 rows around the stadium. And that's why that 32nd row is where you walk in to the stadium. And then you go down, obviously. But that's all it was. And then, obviously, they built it up. But everybody was building stadiums, and, that was all going well and good. So that's a This. The That was it got to be an arms war where you had to build it bigger. You had to get more people in there. It wasn't enough to have 100,000 people in there. You had to have 105,000. You had to have 106,000. No, that's not enough either. Let's build another extension. And here's what else we'll do. We will make the seats smaller. We'll make them like this big. So you can only fit one butt cheek on them. That's it. And I think I've told the story before. John Reeves, the late John Reeves, once told me the story about how his job in the summer one year was to basically sand off all the numbers on all the seats, all the metal bleachers, and then repaint them closer in so they could increase capacity. Now, that's not good. It's not comfortable. And I know that, in fact, what inspired this, that, and the other today was this thing, a thread somebody put up on Twitter that talked about how they were asking basically what is the stadium that has at least 80,000 fans capacity, but it's kind of a dump. And luckily, the Swamp didn't come up, but Neyland Stadium and Penn State were the two that had the most votes. Kyle Field got a few as well. And again, these are places where they just shrunk the seats, built them up. They aren't that good. I've been to all those places. In fact, Kyle Field's scary. When you're in that press box and they start doing that thing where they go back and forth and you can feel the press box moving, that's dangerous. I don't like that at all. So the other is now everyone is talking about reducing capacity. So we've gone full circle with this in that we built these stadiums. Most of them were they weren't huge when they were built, but then they continued. I mean, what was Florida? Obviously, it was, like I said, 32 rows, and then they built the next part of it. Then they built another part of it. Then they built the end zone. Then they built another part of it. And so it's gotten to be to where you have a 90,000 capacity. Neyland Stadium's 107,000. The big house in Michigan, which is the quietest 100,000 people you'll ever find. But now everybody is talking about it. Even Alabama is talking about reducing capacity of seats. And this isn't just because you're uncomfortable. It's because people aren't as interested in going to games and being uncomfortable. So you better be bringing in Alabama or Notre Dame or Ohio State to your ballpark if you want Joe Fan to spend a lot of money to sit in a seat that he's going to be uncomfortable in. And so instead, what is happening, and you're going to see this at Florida, my guess is that by the year, maybe by the time you get to the playoff, because I think it may be 2006 before we get to 2026. If it was 2006, that'd be something. 2026, when we get to the playoff where you may see Florida by then. I don't think it'll happen that quickly, only because they've got this big facility they're building. They've had some other, expenses, but there's a lot of things they're going to do. And one of the things eventually is going to be to reduce capacity, and it'll probably be around 80,000, and people will be more comfortable. But here's the thing: as we sit here today in this world of college football that is changing every 5 minutes, does it really matter if you have 10,000 fewer fans? They're going to make that much less noise. And where's your money going to come from? You know where it's coming from. Ticket sales are just part of it, and it's not even a big part of it. The big part of it is coming from TV, from the conferences, from the SEC network, for the University of Florida. To get that money, it's all from TV. And when they do get to this playoff system, there's even going to be more, a lot more. And you want to have your fans as comfortable as possible when you do play games. Like for example, Florida's got some home-and-home schedule. And obviously Miami will be a big ticket. But that same year, I think they play Vanderbilt. If they don't, they play in the year before. You're not going to spend a lot of money to go to the Vandy game. You're not going to be uncomfortable for the Vandy game, okay? And there's still games like Samford this year. It's actually the third to last game of the year. Not the second. Usually that game is the next to last game, but it's third to last game, whatever it is. Anyway, you get my point. To go to that game. But if you're comfortable and you enjoy the experience about everything else, and this is what Florida and everybody else is trying to do, is make it a better experience. All right, we still have to get to three things presented by Hand Law and our Adams Ribco to go Mount Rushmore. So I'm looking forward to getting to that. We'll do that. We'll take one more commercial break, and then we'll come back. You are watching another Dooley Noted podcast. This is Pat Dooley, and I want to tell you about my friends at the Gainesville Quarterback Club. I'm a member, and you should be too. It's the oldest Gator booster club in the world and a great place to meet new friends, network with prominent business people, and hear a great collection of speakers, including Dan Mullen, throughout the football season. Go ahead and give John Stevens a call at 352-222-8516 or sign up on the website, quarterbackclub.org. Thanks so much to our title sponsors, ABC Fine Wine and Spirits and Titan MRI, and to our pick sponsor, Leonardo's of Millhopper. You can find us live on Facebook and YouTube or listen at your leisure on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or wherever you find all your favorite podcasts. I'm excited to continue this podcast and to have your company on board as a sponsor. If you're interested in being part of the show, email me at patrickdooley54@gmail.com or give me a call, 352-317-3444. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Dooley Noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer to go. What would give you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. to go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
All right, welcome back to another Dooley Noted podcast. We'll have to get Cole Kubelik on next week, probably next Friday. Something's come up for him, but that's fine. I mean, this is what happens, and I've blown off many a radio and podcast show myself because I got caught up doing something else. Remember the other day, who was it that we didn't get? Oh, Bruce Feldman, and Bruce Feldman is going to be on actually on Monday, a week from today. As well as Chris Harry. And again, I'm hoping Bruce Feldman's going to be on. But this is what happens when you're doing a podcast. And is this the 55th one? 55th one. And we've had very few people that we didn't hook up with. And we appreciate so much Heather Dinich. All right, it is time for 3 Things presented by Hand Law. I am going to memorize this over the next week, I promise you. 3 Things is presented by Hand Law, a Florida law firm which helps clients with government. You can learn more about Hand Law by visiting its website, www.hand.law. The firm is available for consultation in Jacksonville. And like I said earlier, that was really a nice message I got from Chris Hand about my anniversary, and we appreciate them so much being part of this. We're going to have some, hopefully, this week we're going to get some new sponsor information too that I think is going to be exciting and fun. Kind of waiting on a couple things, but I think we're going to get that done. All right, so let's go to 3 Things presented by Hand Law. Number 1, did you watch Grant Holloway the other night? That was ridiculous. It's almost like I remember I was at the Olympics in '96 when Michael Johnson just ran. So like everybody's like, we're fighting for the bronze here. And I remember his coach saying, when you run that fast, your heart should explode, because he was ridiculous. That reminded me of Grant Holloway. He, in running the hurdles, especially in the one heat, the semifinal heat, and it was like, where is everybody else? Are they going to eventually finish the race? And of course, he is in the Olympics, really good chance to win the gold medal. I am rooting for him so hard. I've done some interviews with him. Great guy. Maybe be able to get him on here on the podcast, but obviously he's going to have a lot of demand because he's such a star. In fact, I saw where somebody had a good tweet. In fact, I used it in my back nine, which is up on WRUF.com, that the faces of the United States team will be Grant Holloway and Caleb Dressel, 2 former Gators. Well, Simone Biles is still the face of the Olympics for the United States, but maybe they meant male face. But yeah, I would agree with that. And as I said earlier on the show, 17 current, former, or soon-to-be Gators are on the team, including Bradley Beal, which just came out. That team was just announced. And we mentioned Leanne Wong, who is a Florida signee, gymnast, who is a first alternate on the team, and Kayla DeCello, who is also a first alternate, who is a commit. She hadn't signed. Can't say anything about her. I can say it. Coaches can't say anything about it. It was funny that the other day when we had JC on the show, and I wanted to get him to talk about Ian Poulter's kid being on the team, and he's like, hadn't signed till he signs. I refuse to talk. But this goes back to what I was talking about. How there's nothing to watch this summer. I feel there's so much to watch, and the Olympics are coming up, man. It's going to be good. I will get into the Olympics, especially when you have 17 Gators involved. And somebody, like, I want to see Grant Holloway win and do the chomp. That will make my Olympics. I really wish it would have been great to see him play football at Florida. He was a 4-star recruit out of high school football, but he wanted to come to the place where he knew would give him the best opportunity to make the Olympic team. And that's where'd he come? Florida. Did he make the Olympic team? Yeah. But it would have been still fun to watch him on a streak pattern, man. Who's going to stop him? The coach was Jim McElwain at the time. He wasn't interested. Okay. All right, number 2. I am watching the NBA playoffs, and it's kind of weird. I've enjoyed it. And I'm usually a guy who's got to be rooting against somebody to really enjoy anything, any sport. Like I find a villain. I can't find any villains. Kevin Durant's gone. LeBron James there's nothing wrong with him as a person. I think he does great things, but you're always going to root against Superman, except when he's fighting crime, of course. But all those people are out. The closest thing to a villain is the Greek Freak. I'm not going to try to say his last name. I'm not going to try it. Giannis, okay? No, I almost tried it. Because of that thing he does with the free throws. It is mind-blowing. And the Hawks fans are chanting it. They got to 13 one time. You only have 10 seconds to shoot. But they do start it when he gets the ball. They start with 1. No, it's 1,001. You don't start at 1. 1. No. But it is kind of, I don't understand why that's his way of doing it, but it makes him a slight villain, but he is so good. He is such a good player. Did he airball a 3 last night? Yeah. But I am rooting for the Hawks, but I'm not rooting against the Bucks. The Bucks are the only team left in the playoffs that has won an NBA title. 1971. Their best player was, of course, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And they liked him so much, and he won them an NBA title, that they traded him to the Lakers. That made me happy because I was a Lakers fan then. All right. But it has been really interesting to me. What's not interesting is listening to guys talk about, taking every game and destroying one player and building up another. I try not to do that too much. All right, and finally, number 3 on 3 things presented by Hand Law. Just when you think you're not going to watch a golf tournament, it got really good. That 8-hole playoff was fun to watch. In fact, I told my wife, she wanted me to go get some. I go, there's a playoff. Who's in the playoff? Is Mickelson in it? Is Dustin Johnson? No, it's Harris English and another guy that was a distant relative of Wild Bill Hickok. That's all I know about him. But it was still great TV. And I'm glad that they would have played that thing until it got so dark that they would have had to go back and play it tomorrow. I don't like cutting back the time of games in terms of, now, when I was a sports writer I did, but not in terms of cutting back like they did in baseball. I think they're doing it still. Extra innings, you get a runner on second. I think they're doing it. I haven't watched a whole lot of baseball because the Braves have disgusted me to the point of not wanting to watch them. But anyway, that was cool. Good for Harris English. Good for Hickok. I can't think of his first name now. I'd never heard of him until he got to the leaderboard. That also goes back to the thing. There are so many guys who are great golfers that you've never heard of, and many of them never make it on the tour, and some of them never make it on the smaller tours, and they're great golfers. Kramer Hickok. There you go. Kramer. You had to root for a guy named Kramer, right? Seinfeld fan, right? All right. So that is three things, again, presented by Hand Law. Let us go to the Adams Rib to go Mount Rushmore. Today is gymnastics. This was the easiest one I've done yet. And I know that it's going to feel like I only went with people who've been here recently. But I did. I think they're the four best that I've seen. And I go back to the days I saw Ann Woods compete. I go back to, in fact, one person I consider was Melissa Miller, who was the most elegant, beautiful, and actually saw her recently out in Pensacola. She lives out there now. I thought about that. I considered Rhonda Fain, who obviously was a coach for 3 straight, and I considered like Kennedy Baker and also Susan Hines. You know, these were all great performers. I could go on and on about great performers, but here's who I went with. Number 1, Bridget Sloan. A, one of my favorite athletes ever to interview in my life. B, 2-time All-American. She's the reason, not the only reason, but she was what Florida needed to get over the hump and win a national title. So was her teammate for all but one of those years, I think, right? Keitra Hunter, also a 2-time All-American. Bridget Sloan, Keitra Hunter, those are no-brainers right away. And then I had to go with Trinity Thomas. Look, she had that ankle injury this year, or Florida might have won the whole thing. I think she is the most interesting to watch and very interesting to talk to gymnast I've seen at the University of Florida. Maybe I'll feel differently about these girls that are coming in. Ladies, I should say, not girls. Although if you're in high school, are you still a girl? Yeah, it's ladies. All right, so, and then my final one is Alex McMurtry. Alex McMurtry was so special, 4.0 student. I think it was actually more than 4.0, but she was an unbelievable student, unbelievable gymnast. She had that injury that she couldn't compete in all around for most of her career till the very end, but she was a huge part of those national titles as well. I think she was just a fun person to talk to and was an unbelievable gymnast. To me, those are the 4 best gymnasts in Florida history, and those are the 4 that are on my Mount Rushmore, and they're on the Adams Rib Co. to Go Mount Rushmore. So go to Adams Rib, tell them you heard about Adams Rib to Go here on another Dooley Noted podcast, and maybe they'll give you a free Diet Coke. On me. Tell them to put it on my tab. Now there's going to be 900 Diet Cokes on my tab. And that may be because they have crowds over there. All right, sorry we didn't have Cole Kubelik, and we'll try to get him on later. We got a couple other people we're going to try to get on later. Like, we were trying to get Aubrey Monroe on. She couldn't do it today. I don't know if she's going to be available till after the Olympics, but we still are going to effort there. We're working on Billy Donovan. We're working on some other people. And we're working on more sponsors and try to keep those going. So appreciate everybody. Of course, appreciate Evan so much. Again, on Friday's show, ought to be a lot of fun. Robbie, Andrew, and I are going to do something really cool. I got to save it for you. We got a surprise guest for him, too. And Steve Mercandani, as we become the Shack Allen Mercandani Studios. We got to come up with a better name than that. Shack Allen Mercandani Luxury Studios, like a luxury condo. That's going to do it for today's show. Until next time, until Friday show, we will get out of here. I am Pat Dooley. I'm deep. I'm way back, and I am out of here.